So day 9 of this trial felt like peeling back the curtain on a world most of us could never imagine. The glitz, the power, the access, the fear. What we heard from Kid Cudi, and later I'll do a video on Capricorn Clark, George Kaplan, and Mylah Morales wasn't just about one man's alleged violence. It was about the kind of environment that protects it, normalizes it, and sometimes even praises it. These witnesses, in their own ways, I believe painted a picture of what happens when people orbit a powerful figure long enough. They lose their sense of safety, or worse, that sense of reality. I mean, Capricorn Clark, Diddy's ex-employee, she feared for her life. Again, I'll talk about her on another video. Mylah Morales, Cassie's former makeup artist, also feared for her life, allegedly. George Kaplan, Diddy's ex-assistant, he knew what he saw was horrible DV against 2 women, and yet, to this day, he still keeps or tries to keep ties with Diddy. And then you have Kid Cudi. He was allegedly targeted by Diddy. He believes his car was arsoned by Diddy or one of his associates. His house was allegedly broken into by Diddy. And yet, even he, for a moment on the stand, and I'll talk about this, he played into a narrative that somehow blames Cassie. I mean, that's crazy. This is why these testimonies are so critical. They're complex. They don't just expose alleged crimes. They expose the part of hip hop culture that may allow these particular crimes. And that's not all of hip hop culture, but certainly there is a part of it that does. Okay, so Kid Cudi. Look, what he went through, what he testified to, what he said that made most people's stomach drop, including mine, it's something we really need to break all the way down. But first, some of you may not know who Kid Cudi is. I guess you've been living under a rock or you're part of a different generation. But here's a quick report on who Kid Cudi is.
Kid Cudi, born Scott Muscati, is a Grammy-winning rapper, singer, and actor known for blending hip-hop, rock, and introspective lyrics to pioneer emo rap. He rose to fame with Day and Night and Man on the Moon, becoming a voice for mental health in music. In his testimony during Diddy's federal criminal trial, Cudi shared that he briefly dated singer Cassie in 2011 and fell in love with her, but says the relationship ended due to threatening behavior and drama allegedly caused by Diddy.
All right, now let's get into what he shared. Kid Cudi testified that Diddy allegedly broke into his house, locked his dog in the bathroom, and he said his dog was never the same after this. Rummaged through his Christmas gifts, just left them all open and on the table. And ultimately, his Porsche was destroyed by a Molotov cocktail. Okay? Now, although the defense made a point to say that a female's DNA apparently was found on this Molotov cocktail. But that is, to me, a bit disingenuous because, one, it's highly likely that Diddy himself would not have thrown the cocktail, okay? He would likely get an associate to do it. In fact, when he allegedly threatened Cassie and her family, he said allegedly, I can do XYZ to you and I'll be out the country. They won't know that I had anything to do with it, meaning people would never suspect I was involved. So why wouldn't he do the same with Cudi? He could have gotten a woman to throw the cocktail for him. Also, so what if there is a female DNA found? That could be any woman. Therefore, it's really just partial DNA because we don't know who or where that DNA came from. So let's just sit with that. Now, the arson testimony, if it is still allowed in, because the defense is challenging that, will largely be based on circumstantial evidence. And there have been 3 witnesses that have spoken on Cudi being a major target of Diddy. I mean, Cassie spoke on it. Her mother spoke on it. Cudi himself obviously spoke on it. And Capricorn Clark spoke on it. And y'all, let's be clear on something. Kid Cudi is not a snitch. So miss me with that. That's foolishness. He didn't commit a crime and turn on Diddy to save himself. That's what snitching is. I hope people understand that. Cudi was the alleged victim of a crime or several. He has every right to testify. He has every right to share his truth. But there was one part of his testimony that did deeply disappoint me, and every time someone repeats it, my blood boils. So look, under cross-examination, the defense attorney, Brian Steele, who is a good attorney, but he asked Cudi if he felt Cassie played him and Diddy. And Cudi said yes. See, now, since the defense wants to play games and strike good testimony, the prosecution should ask for this to be struck as well. But him saying that hurt. And look, I get it. Cudi at the time, he was younger, maybe still dealing with trauma. Maybe he's hurt about the ending of his relationship. But dude, you were hiding in a hotel with Cassie because you both allegedly felt you were in danger because of Diddy. You said that. You said she told you about her DV situations from Diddy. You said that. You said she had to use a burner phone because she feared Diddy. You said that. And Diddy found out and allegedly broke into your house. Not Cassie, but again, Diddy. You said that. You said you had to meet him face to face because it was getting out of hand. And after all of this, you thought, let me say Cassie played me. Cudi, you were not being played by Cassie. You were being protected. She called you and warned you, and you even tried to protect her. You were both young and not as powerful as the diddler. Now, I feel Steele tripped him up because ain't no way he should have said that. And let's not forget, Diddy, according to numerous testimony, had multiple girlfriends at the time, Kim, Cassie, and maybe even Gina, etc. So that man was not loyal to Cassie or anyone but himself, so he wasn't played either, period. So as for the defense, this to me, I've said it before, is a masterclass in misogyny. They are playing from the same old tired book of blame the woman, blame the victim, turn men against the woman, confuse the jury. To me, it's gross and it's unfortunate, but it could work, at least for a moment, because it worked on Cudi. But let me tell you, Cassie was not the villain here. Cudi was right the first time when he described Diddy as a Marvel supervillain. He said that's what he looked like during a meeting that they had at the Soho House regarding the incident. Because that's the energy that Diddy allegedly was moving with, period. Now let's talk about George Kaplan, Diddy's former assistant. Many people are calling his testimony one of the most impactful of the trial, believe it or not. Why? Because he didn't just tell us what happened. He showed us the inner conflict that so many people felt working around Diddy.
But real quick, Stacey, here's a quick note about Kaplan. He testified under immunity after initially pleading the Fifth. Though he made it clear he did not want to testify, he was subpoenaed by the government. Testifying under immunity meant he couldn't be prosecuted for anything he admitted to on the stand, as long as he told the truth. If he lied, he could lose that protection. The jury was not told that he had immunity. Still, his testimony is significant because it supports the RICO charge against Diddy. Like David James, a former assistant who also testified, Kaplan may have committed federal crimes under Diddy's direction. This helps build the case that Diddy was running a criminal enterprise.
Kaplan testified that he witnessed Diddy allegedly throw glass at Cassie, saw her with a black eye, was sent to get anti-inflammatory meds for her after a violent incident on a plane and was told to pick up tens of thousands in cash at Western Union. And here's something he also shares, something new. Kaplan said he witnessed Diddy throw green apples at another one of his girlfriends, Gina, who was supposed to testify as victim number 3, but somehow she can't be found, which is kind of weird and makes you wonder. But all of this, he said, really traumatized him. And y'all, that's not just violence. That's terrorizing people. I mean, Kaplan said after seeing Cassie with that black eye and witnessing Gina face all this DV, he quit. He said he didn't want to tell Diddy that's why he quit. He told him it was due to his sick father because he didn't want to deal with any of the backlash. But on the stand, he told the jury the real reason. It was this violence. But here's where the emotional bondage comes in. Even after leaving, he still sent birthday greetings to Diddy. He still invited Diddy to his wedding, although he said Diddy didn't show up. But that's not just loyalty, in my opinion. That's psychological captivity, in my opinion. And that's honestly similar to cult-like power. That's what it looks like when someone can mistreat you or others around you and you still feel tethered to them. I mean, George was a grown man. He's a grown man now, and he still feels torn. Imagine what that felt like for someone like Cassie. I mean, Kaplan's story proves what so many people go through. Being caught between admiration and morality. And when he said, I couldn't believe my good fortune to be working for such an icon. I felt that. So many of us have been there, working for someone we admired, only to realize the power, the fame, the glitter was covering up perhaps something ugly underneath. And as they say, you probably don't really want to meet your heroes. Now let's talk about Mylah Morales, Cassie's former makeup artist. Her testimony was short, but it had some power. She said she cared for Cassie after witnessing a horrible DV situation. Cassie had a busted lip, knots on her head, and a swollen eye. Now, this happened after Grammy weekend in 2010. And here are some of the specifics on that. She said Cassie came to her hotel room after she left a Prince Grammy party, a party she was extremely excited to attend. I mean, come on, it's Prince. But Cassie allegedly had to escape this party after seeing Diddy was there. And apparently he didn't know she was attending, so he was upset about this. So when he saw her, she left quickly. Later, he found her at the hotel and allegedly attacked her. And again, Morales heard the attack, heard screams and beatings and breaking of glass. She helped Cassie leave and allowed her to stay with her at her home. So they left the hotel and she stayed with her at the home. And no, she did not call the police, not because she didn't care, but because she was terrified of Diddy. She told the court, I feared for my life. Now let that sink in. This isn't just one witness saying Diddy was dangerous. It's pretty much most of his inner circle saying he is. I mean, people had to hide. People stayed quiet. People feared retaliation. People claimed they were blacklisted. I'll talk about that with Capricorn Clark. So when folks ask, why didn't Cassie just leave? This is why. Morales was scared. Kaplan was scared. Cudi was scared. Capricorn Clark, who, again, I'll get into later in my next video, she was scared. Even the security guards, chefs, celebrity friends allegedly looked the other way. So how was Cassie, a young woman in a relationship with a powerful, rich man, supposed to just walk away? So look, these testimonies from Cudi, Kaplan, and Morales, they don't just tell us what happened. They tell us why survivors stay, like I was saying. They show us the power of manipulation, the fear of speaking out, and the way abuse is often hidden in plain sight. Let's stop asking again why Cassie didn't leave. And let's start asking maybe why Diddy was allegedly allowed to continue unchecked for so long. This is H Blue's Word, and I'll see you next time. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and please share. Peace.